Hello everyone, welcome to EduTap. In this session, we are going to cover a very important report from the exam point of view, that is the Global Report on Food Crisis 2022. So first of all, why we are covering this report? Because this report caters to our syllabus of the social sector in India health, and that's why it is really very important for RBI Grade B as well as NABARD Grade A exam. So in this particular session, we are going to discuss all the important findings from this particular report, which is really very important from the exam point of view. So when we talk about this particular report, we always tell you that what you are required to cover. That is the releasing body of any particular report which has been released recently. So when we talk about this report which has been titled as the 2022 Global Report on Food Crisis. So when we talk about the releasing body, this report has been released by Global Network Against Food Crisis. So guys, this is basically an international alliance which basically works to tackle the food crisis. Now the other organization in association with which the GNAFC has launched this report is Food Security Information Network, which is basically an information network which guides and strengthens the food insecurity system, the information system, in order to provide better data for the decision making and analysis. So these are the basically two organizations which has come up with this particular report, that is Global Report on Food Crisis. So when we talk about this particular report, this report basically focuses on the countries and territories where the magnitude and the severity of the food crisis exceeds the local resources and capacities. So guys, when we talk about this report tells us about the number of people which are being pushed towards the acute food insecurity in the past period, and apart from that it also tells us about the nations which are basically facing the issue of food crisis. So when we talk about the important numbers and the findings that this particular report gives us, so here is the very first important point that you are required to remember from the exam point of view, that this report reveals that 193 million people in 53 countries or territories experienced acute food insecurity at crisis or worst levels in 2021. So when I talk about this number was basically around 155 million in 2020. That means that from past year to this year, there is an increase of nearly 40 million people as compared with the already recorded numbers for year 2020. And among these 40 million people, around over half million people, that is 5,70,000 people, were classified as the most severe phase of acute food insecurity catastrophe in the countries like Ethiopia, which is having the maximum number of people, such kind of people, that is 4,01,000, followed by South Sudan, Yemen and Madagascar. So okay, these are the important information that you are required to remember from the exam point of view. Now apart from this report, these particular findings will be more clear to all of you with the help of this bar graph which has been mentioned here. As you can see that in 2016, that the number of people which are basically in the crisis was around 108 million, and this has nearly doubled to 193 million in year 2021 as per this particular report. Apart from that, this report also tells us about the countries which are having more than 1 million wasted children under 5 years in 2021, and this list of countries has been topped by Ethiopia once again with 4.2 million children. Okay ji, so I hope that this is very much clear to all of you. Now you are requested to tell me that what exactly is the definition of wasting in the comment section. So apart from that, this report also tells us about the top 10 countries with the highest number of people in the crisis or worse or equivalent in year 2021. And when we talk about the country which was at the top, so basically the Democratic Republic of the Congo was the country in which 20.5 million people are in the stage of crisis, while the remaining 6.7 million people are under the stage of emergency. So this is what you are required to remember, that the country which was having the highest number of people in the crisis or worse is basically the Democratic Republic of Congo. So now we have discussed various numbers, that what exactly is the country with the having highest number of people in the crisis. Now when we talk about that, what exactly is the root cause behind that, the key drivers which are basically feeding into one another and challenging these countries or making them shifting towards this particular stage of food crisis. So what these key drivers are? So basically here, as per this particular report, there are three main drivers which are responsible for this, and here is the list of all those drivers, that is conflict, weather extremes and economic shocks. So guys, one thing that I want to tell you here, and you will be surprised to hear that this particular report and these numbers are basically before, they were being written before the Russia-Ukraine crisis. That means if we add that number value in this value as well, then it is going to be become more worse. So when we talk about the conflict factor, it has basically pushed 139 million people in 24 countries into the acute food insecurity. When we talk about weather extremes, over 23 million people were being pushed into acute food insecurity. And when we talk about the economic shocks, there were over 30 million people in 21 countries or territories which were being pushed into the acute food insecurity. So these are the three key indicators that this particular report states, and this is what you are required to remember from the exam point of view. Now this particular report also gives us some recommendations so that countries can adopt them and can push themselves out of this particular situation of the acute food insecurity crisis. And what these recommendations are, this report basically focuses on the prioritization of the smallholder agriculture as a frontline humanitarian response. Apart from that, it also promotes structural changes to the way the external financing is distributed. Basically, it wants to bring some structural changes in the external financing so that just only providing the financial assistance, apart from that we can invest more on the long-term investments so that we can just bring some structural changes into the development structure of that country, and so that we can avoid these particular situations in the upcoming future. Apart from that, this report also collectively promotes more efficient and sustainable ways of providing humanitarian assistance. So guys, these were all the key important recommendations which have been mentioned by this particular report. So till now we have covered all the important key details from this particular report that you are required to remember from the exam point of view. Now let's move on to a question. See, here you can see a PYQ from the previous year in which a question was being asked on the United Nations multidimensional poverty report, in which the question was that India has lifted how many people out of poverty. So guys, on the similar lines, a question can come in the RBI Grade B exam as well, that as per the recently released Global Report on Food Crisis 2022, how many people experienced acute food insecurity at crisis or worse levels in 53 countries or territories in year 2021. So what will be the answer as per this particular report? The right answer will be basically 193 million people which have been pushed into the acute food insecurity at crisis as per the Global Report on Food Crisis 2022. So that's how you are required to remember that what kind of questions are being asked in the exam from such kind of reports and indices, and why they are really very important to be covered from the exam point of view. Now there is one more practice question from the same report, and guys, here what you are required to do, you are just required to focus on the keywords. So in this particular question, you are just required to identify the correct statement in relation with this particular report. Now, when we talk about the very first statement, it is talking about the releasing bodies, that is GNAFC and the Food Security Information Network. In the second report, it is basically talking about the number that 193 million people in the 53 countries or territories have experienced more acute food insecurity. And in the third statement, it is talking about the drivers which are basically responsible. And here when you will focus, you will find out that here 4 key drivers have been mentioned, but as per our discussion, there were only 3 drivers which were responsible for pushing people into the acute food insecurity crisis. And what were these factors? These were basically conflict, weather extremes and economic shocks. And here the last one, that is the COVID-19 pandemic, is absolutely incorrect. So guys, here the right answer to the question will be option D, that is both A and B are correct, and this is the right answer for this particular question. So I hope that this is very much clear that how different questions can be made from one single report and indices in the exam. So guys, now when we talk about the homework question from the previous session, in this particular part you were required to just told me the budget for the National Film Heritage Mission. Okay, so guys, here the right answer was basically rupees 363 crores, and once again I am having a long list of the star performers. And who are these people? These are those people who have answered the homework question correctly in the comment section. And if you also want your name to be mentioned here in the upcoming session as a star performer, you are required to answer this question which is presently on the screen. So guys, here you are just required to tell me that you are just required to identify the Indian ministry which has recently signed an MOU with the Solar Energy Corporation Corporation of India Limited, under which a proposal has been initiated to install solar energy panels in the campuses of CAPFs and NSGs. So do tell me the right answer in the comment section, and I will be giving out your names as a star performer in the upcoming session. So guys, if you have still not subscribed to our YouTube channel, kindly subscribe it and press the bell icon to receive all the latest updates of the courses and videos offered by us. And you can also join our Telegram channel to get the access to the PDF of these sessions. To join the Telegram channel, kindly click on the link given in the description below. So guys, that was all from the today's session. I really believe that today's session was useful and fruitful to all of you. If you have any kind of query, you can drop us a mail at hello@edutab.co.in, and you can also call us at 814-620-7241. So guys, keep preparing well, stay healthy, stay happy. Wish you all happy learning.